we are here. Well, welcome, Eva. Here we are
again. Thank you for having me. Yes, it's wonderful to be here.
I know, it's just kind of fun. I know. Well, okay, folks, today we will have again our conversation on consciousness and how, our emotions and the relationship to the body, practically a relationship between the body and consciousness. So, Eva, okay, I would love you to kind of just give us a brief info about how you declare consciousness so that people will get a little idea. And then we will talk about emotions and the relationship. How about that?
All right. Consciousness, of course, is a very big subject. And
yes,
we can talk about it a very long time. Of course, there are officially, scientifically, or in medicine, there are different levels of consciousness, and there are parameters that can be used for it. But basically, the way I define consciousness is the sense of being separate from the recognition of being separate from the environment, because the mind evolves in its interaction with the environment, so it becomes a better and better mirror of the environment. If we look at primitive animals, such as a fly or a worm, they can respond to environmental stimuli just as well as we do, of course, in a more primitive way, naturally. This kind of interaction exists in every level of living organism. What is different when you have consciousness is that sense of recognition that this kind of inner world is separate from that outer world. So even though in evolution, this inner world, this mental world becomes symmetric, kind of a mirror of what is outside, out there in the world. But once that recognition emerges that I am a separate thing from the environment, that's a very interesting thing. When you see a cat, you can tell that cat can manipulate you. And that's
everything can manipulate you. Yeah, because we are interacting. Yes.
Yeah, because that cat recognizes this difference. So for consciousness, a requirement that you have emotions, that you are emotional animal, which is the quality of birds and mammals. And naturally, the human consciousness is far superior, and but we grew out of this common emotional existence, if you will.
But also, Eva, I would ask the question is that, through the experiences and what we are going through, we are actually evolving and expanding our consciousness, correct?
Of course.
The reason why, because I look, like I said to you, I would like to add from my point of, of experience, working with the body, for over 20 some years, is that, there's an interaction between the mental, emotional, and spiritual, and body interaction. And it's fascinating just to watch all those four aspects. What is really happening is that sometimes if we are too intellectual, the body can suffer. if we are too emotional, and you will agree on that one, it will impact our lives, talking about, emotions, impacting our, relationship with the world and in the business, in every area practically. Or, sometimes if we are missing the spiritual aspect, so it's pretty fascinating how all these things work together. And on some level, a lot of the time, and actually what I'm seeing right now, we are really in the era where we are really working on those four aspects to keep them in the balance, not just certain area. Because very well that if we are just constantly dealing with on the intellectual level, it becomes too much manipulation and too much control. If we are dealing too much on the emotional level, that's not healthy either, because we cannot move forward. A lot of time the emotions are just holding us in a same place until we don't move forward.
Yes, but I must say that in my view, we basically only have emotions. So our intellectual, our conscious world is based on emotion, and naturally, intellect, an intellectual state is a different kind of emotional background than, I don't know,
pure emotions.
And another kind. And I am very careful to say this because, animals that we certainly consider intellectually less superior than ourselves, they can have very balanced emotional existence sometimes.
Yes.
So, nevertheless, to become more intellectual, if we want to use this word, then that requires more emotional stability. And that's only the difference. Everybody is emotional. Everybody. If you bring
absolutely.
me a monk who meditates, who shows this extraordinary ability in his meditation practice, I can still show that monk, no matter how stable, can have experience that will shake his emotional being, because we are all somewhere reliant on our emotional connections to others. So emotions underlie.
Emotions are actually, from the healing point, they are magnetic, and the thoughts are electric. I mean, I'm not talking right now, how the science is defining, but from the reading what I did in many other stuff, people are talking about the magnetic and electric aspect.
I am not familiar with that.
That's okay.
I would consider just our intellectual or logical or conscious state all underlined by emotions. So if you are a mathematician, the most logical and this clear objective mind, it still works with emotions. And a mathematician would tell you that this is beautiful. The idea is beautiful. That is emotion. And that helps him find the idea that works by this beauty. So there is no such thing. We are not computers. A human mind cannot be simplified into no matter how complex machine. because we have emotions. And that's the difference. And I argue that a mathematician or a scientist can discover a new hypothesis or a new solution for an equation because of emotions, because the emotions can guide his thinking and will recognize the shortcut to the solution. A machine will do the mechanic steps, no matter how many steps it takes, and will beat a human in that. But that is not what intellect is. So I think we really got into more to this mental understanding or about consciousness, and we deviated from the body. But I think this is very important to.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my point is just think about the stress. They are saying that, 95% of all conditions what we are dealing is stress related.
And I would probably, I haven't seen that number, but I agree that certainly a huge number can be shown that it starts out with stress effects.
Because, most of the time.
Yes, go ahead.
Most of the time they are asking people, first go into the add meditation, start, walking, maybe exercise, or, and then improve your things, nutrition and stuff. But the first thing what they will actually start is with the exercise, breathing, yoga, or, meditation.
Well, of course, if you break your leg, you have to go and have a cast. I mean, this is just...
Oh, that's a different story. We are not talking about that.
So we have to see very well, the aspect that is cannot be meditated on. So that is important. But when we look at our emotional lives and but when we don't understand and we get into a hole with our emotions, with not knowing how to handle the challenges of our lives, then yes, our immune system suffers and the more diseases scientists look, the more it turns out the connection with anxiety, stress, and all kinds
right now
of...
I'm actually not talking about any broken bones or any parts that needs to be replaced. I am really talking right now about the aspect of stress. And then down the road, it can go into the accidents, or, the body may go into the deterioration if you are not paying attention to it. And, that's a different story. But I'm strictly talking about the stress.
All right. And certainly, stress is a time pressure. And we can color it differently, but where it comes down to basically that's what it's about. And I think in a previous program I already talked about is that when we feel attacked, then we fight back. And when we accept our situation, that's when we can escape. And this is just a very simple way to look at it, but I think it's very good and useful way to look at it, because stress is a time pressure, but we fight it, and that's why we lose.
Stress can be, people have to understand stress can be very healthy. Stress is not stress is not always something bad, but to understand how to handle that, when to understand, when the stress is too far, that you have to step back and maybe take measures for it.
Precisely. And this is the thing. This is the difference. When you fight, then you lose. When you accept, you win. So when we feel stressed, our gut reaction is to fight it. And that's when we lose. And those people who can manage stress are those who know that this is a stressful situation, this is bad, I cannot help it, so I might as well just start doing what I have to do. And when they do that, there is a magical thing happen, because step by step, they feel that they move forward, they feel more confident, and they can do the next step and the next step, and the solution is theirs. So, and this is a huge step, to accept the situation, your stressful situation. This is an enormous step, but it is possible. You can fight yourself to it. Not fight. I was using the wrong word. Accept yourself to it. So, and that's why meditation helps.
I will ask you the question.
Yes, go ahead.
Ask you the question when you're saying accept yourself. What you mean with that? How would you explain that?
This we already talked about this earlier in a different aspect, and what I was saying at that time, that when you are pushed or when we are pushed, we fight back, but when we are pushed too much, then we accept it. And this is an interesting thing, because when you get to the point that I am the last one here, or I cannot help this, this is how it is. It just, I broke my leg, I cannot help it. I cannot fight it anymore. There is a point. And that's why often those people who are the last in the line can break, can fight themselves up to the first place. It's a very interesting thing. This shouldn't happen, but it does. And the reason it does, that the second place fights. Why am I not the first one? There is an immense liberation in acceptance, and it's a very difficult step to get there. To tell yourself that I lost, this is where I am. But that gives you that liberation, that openness, that, all right, I can do the next step. That's a fantastic thing. When you fight, you don't know what the next step is. So you do this, and then tomorrow you do that, and that just goes all over the place. There is no, it doesn't come together.
I'm trying to follow what trying to kind of put right now in a different category, because if I am looking, remember, for the listeners or who are watching us here, Eva and I, we had a little discussion before we started. The reason why, because I was trying to kind of get the point that, she's coming from this. I just wanted to clear also that she's coming from the point of science, and I'm coming from the point of the healing and working with the body. And, we are trying to kind of get from the two different aspects, to see this whole relationship, emotions and relationship. And I was sharing with Eva about that, for instance, For the point of healing, I studied actually Eastern philosophy, and from the Eastern philosophy, we have our body is connected to the 7 chakras, and that every chakra actually has its own consciousness. And what is amazing about that is that every chakra system can actually stand on its own. And now, but those chakra system, they have a different connection. For instance, first chakra has a connection to how grounded we are, or how connected we are in the family, in the business, and in the society. And the second chakra, for me, actually, from my own personal experience, is that what's happening to us when we step out the tribe, or out the family, or the society. So when we start to learn about ourselves, and and how we are in relationship to other people, and also in relationship to your partner or whatever, and then if we are capable to move from there, then we are moving into the third chakra, which is actually the chakra of responsibility, and then goes up to the heart chakra, and on and on and on. But what I'm seeing a lot of time right now, actually in the last 15 or 20 years, that a lot of us, we went through this recognizing for who we are, and talking about the expansion of the consciousness. That we right now as a collective, we are dealing with this enormous turmoil of the chaos, moving from the from this being in the tribe into the personal responsibility, or being separating ourselves and who we are. So and there's a lot of emotional unresolved issue. So I was kind of trying to figure out, how is that actually apply from the point of science, Eva? Can you help me with that?
Well, for the sake of our viewers, I think I will try to clarify a little bit about emotions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, yeah.
Emotions are the energy states of the brain, and there is a neutral state. And before I talked about it, but I think it's worthwhile to
well, we are still again
refresh
going
our
back to the
memories.
relationship with the body.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes. So in the brain, there is a kind of neutral state, and I'm trying to show this with my hand. Mm-hmm. And when we lose that balance in either direction, then emotions form. So we can look at the mind as an energy neutral system that, in its interaction with the outside world, with right now with each other, or whatever, you are hungry or thirsty, whatever happens, then you are changed from this neutral position, and as soon as that changes, you have emotions, and those emotions will trigger actions that will restore this neutral state. This is automatic. That's why we are directed by our emotions. It's not us who directs our emotions. It's our emotions will direct what we do. If we are in pain, we will act, and emotions are pain or happiness or variation of these two. Basically, we have positive emotions or negative emotions. There are no others, and that means a different kind of instability for the brain and a different kind of action to recover the neutral state. But going back to your question, I think I have to go back to our emotions, because this is to change, to find a better vision, a better lifestyle, a happier state. The greatest success we can achieve is happiness. And often to get there, we have to go through negative emotions. So,
but also, Eva, is this in the science also looked for that actually our emotions are related also to our endocrine system, to the hormones?
Of course, all interrelated.
Yes.
Naturally.
Okay, gotcha. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and the mind, the body is interconnected,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
and we have emotions that will influence through the hormonal system, and the muscular system will influence our bodies, and vice versa. Or state of our bodies will influence our emotions, our mental state. So it's all mutually determined. And I don't know if this answers to your question. Magdalena? It looks like we lost Magdalena, so I will try to continue and take over her place. Tonight, we have decided to talk about how consciousness can be interacting with the body, and the emotions' role in this complex relationship. And this is naturally the big question in science today, because emotions are not perfectly understood. Even the definition of emotion is sometimes conflicting. But if we look at the emotions as these energy states of the brain, that then it helps us to understand in a simpler way how emotions play a role in our well-being, because really that is the most important. When we have positive emotions, that is the easiest thing. And positive emotions move us forward. Children, students, even citizens can be manipulated, not manipulated, encouraged with positive emotions best. Negative emotions can be used as a threat, perhaps that if you don't do something, then these are going to be the negative consequences. But altogether, it's always more successful over the long term to use positive emotions as motivators. But negative emotions have an immense role in success also. Even though basically what we talked earlier, negative emotions cause stress. They have a role in anxiety, in depression. So negative emotions are really very dangerous. It's much more difficult. It takes work, emotional work, but negative emotions can be turned into a step towards success. I think this is a good way to look at it. When you are willing to do the work to turn negative emotions into these steps of success, then you change your life. You turn your life around in spite of their negative environment. And so what are the ways that can turn negative emotions or negative emotional states into steps toward success or steps toward goals? There are several ways, and the first one I already mentioned, that this is meditation. These Eastern practices are extremely effective to turn negativity, suffering even, into steps toward success. But there are other ways. They remember better and they can solve problems better. And this is also true for people, for children, for example. So when you see in front of your eyes, in your mind eye, a goal that you want to achieve, that motivates you, the better got the goal, the more positive the goal, the better. That will move you forward, and it will help you become more successful in your lives, and it will make whatever negative environment or circumstances you find yourself in will become less significant, and you won't even notice it. It will not be able to rock you. You will be able to move forward and succeed. Of course, you cannot start with a huge goal. You have to start just with a small goal, but you have to make sure that once you achieve it, you move forward. You have to act on it and take baby step, because even a baby step will give you confidence and that satisfaction that you can do the next step. Even the greatest journeys begin just with a baby step, because when you move, there is energy in it. They often say that a big machine, if it gets moving, that's already half of the success. And that is so true, because when you move forward, then there is energy in it. But there are other ways to move towards success. I mentioned the first two, this meditation and orientation toward the goal. And the third one I already mentioned also earlier, which was accepting your situation, acceptance. That has an immense power in it, because when you, as I mentioned earlier, when you find yourself in negative emotional state, you fight it, and that's what creates this energy of stress. When you give up, then it liberates you from the negative emotions, because you cannot change it. So you don't fight. And that liberation allows you to find a solution, to move forward. But I have one more. So far I had three ways that can turn negative emotions, negative emotional states around. But I left the most important one to the last, and that is love. Love is the greatest force. Sometimes they say it is the greatest force in the universe. And that may be true. But when we love, we have such trust about the world and about ourselves that really we can do almost anything. So I think these four methods give a toolkit that either of those can help. Either of those works by itself, but using them together probably it creates an unbeatable combination. And I think we live in such a time that it is possible to change our life, and we even probably have a responsibility for each other to become successful, to reach our potential. What better way to live? Magdalena, did you regain your voice?
Yeah, listen, I lost you guys, so I just wanted to make sure. Can you hear me?
Yes, perfectly. And welcome back.
Thank you. So look, like I said, we had the issue here, weather-wise. So I'm sorry. So I missed what you were saying. So just continue.
Well, I basically summarized a success toolkit for our listeners, and I hope if you would like to have more information on this or similar ideas, methods, then you can read my blog. If you are on Twitter, you can find my tweet. You can find me through Twitter, my Twitter handle, which is Know the Mind, and that will lead you to my blog. And I encourage you to read some of the blogs, and you can cherry pick which talks to you better, and that will have this information in more detail or different informations. I talk a lot about consciousness, about emotions. I find this the most important, because really emotions are with us always, even at night. They work in our lives, and when you can set your mind in a better course, then you will have different emotions which will support you to be happier. What better way to live?